Welcome to the Right Path podcast. Folks, this is the place where being an author, an actual author, still matters. This is the podcast that's for authors. It's about authors. It's done by an author. This is where we come together to explore our creativity, where we examine the why behind it all, where we share our journeys. This is the place that's for you, that's about you. And we have a great conversation set up for you today. Folks, our guest today is an author herself, author of Publish Like the Pros. She has over 50 years experience. I believe she told me it was 53 years in publishing, which she must have started when she was born. I have no idea how she did this. And she's the founder of 1106 Design. And I cannot wait to hear her story, her advice, and what she has to offer in terms of helping all of us out there to pursue self-publishing and maintain control of our books. Please welcome to the show, Michele DeFilippo. Michele, how are you doing today?
Oh, very good, Rory. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm really looking forward to just picking your brain for, for the next, 45 minutes or so. So I really do appreciate you coming on. Let me find out a little bit about you. I mean, that long in publishing, you must have seriously, just started in elementary school. I mean, how did you get into publishing and why for that long? You must love what you're doing.
Oh, I do love publishing, but I actually got into it by accident. I got out of community college in 1972 in New York City, and Crown Publishing it was the first company that offered me a job, and so I took it. And that's how I learned even that publishing existed as a career. I had studied advertising design with the idea of working at ad agencies and companies like that, but I wound up in publishing, and I loved it from the very beginning.
That's amazing. So, I mean, you've been through all of the changes that have happened in publishing. It's come a really long way since 1972.
Yes, I have. And we can thank Amazon for it. Amazon made self-publishing possible. You know,
Right, right.
people think of them as a bookstore, but they really had a an earthquake type effect on the publishing industry.
For sure, for sure. The so you've worked for the actual, big publishing house,
Mhm.
and you now with 1106 Design, you help people self-publish. Tell me a little bit about 1106 Design. What do you do there, and what made you decide you wanted to, start something like that?
Well, 1106 Design is actually my second company. My first company was formed in 1980, and it was a typesetting business back when typesetting was done by a separate person than the designer. The technology, of course, changed completely over the years. And as soon as Steve Jobs invented his Macintosh, it ended every typesetting business on earth.
Uh,
So, so, so that was not a fun part of my life, but that lasted for 13 years. And then I went back to freelancing graphic design, which was something I was familiar with. And then around 2001, self-publishing became a thing. All of a sudden, authors did not need the permission of a publisher to release their work. They didn't have to work with a publisher who would change their book and take control of it and take most of the money from book sales. They could publish their book on their own. And they did need the kinds of services I knew how to provide. So that's how 1106 got started in 2001.
Nice. Okay. So you and I had this discussion ahead of time. Let's just dive right into it. It seems to be, there are publishers, there are self-publishers, and somewhere in the middle, there appear to be a hybrid publisher, which is a model I haven't quite gotten a grasp of just yet because it changes so much from company to company. You are none of those. You're a service provider for self-publishers. Am I
That's
right?
correct. That's correct. I need to back up a little bit. Everyone's familiar with traditional publishing,
Hmm.
which still exists, right? The big six, whatever, the big companies. In traditional publishing, the author pays nothing. They sell the rights to publish their manuscript to the publishing company. The publisher pays, hires the experts, pays all the expenses. And then when a book is sold, the publisher recoups its investment by keeping the lion's share of the profit when a book is sold. And that's perfectly fair business model, right? They deserve to get a return on their investment, and then the author gets a small portion of the revenue, and that's called a royalty. Now, When self-publishing became possible through Amazon in the late 90s, early 2000s, the idea was that the author was the publisher, and the author would take on all the roles and responsibilities of the publisher, hire the experts, and then keep 100% of the net revenue when a book was sold. And that was understood for a number of years, and then slowly it kind of got misunderstood. We started to see self-publishing companies who began to charge authors for the services to produce their book, but then they would also take revenue out of the author's pocket on the back end. So that never made sense to anybody who understood publishing. Is like, wait a minute, I'm making the investment, but you're getting part of the profits. And in what world does that make sense? And so that went on for very many years. And some of these self-publishing companies put out really terrible books. They took advantage of the fact that authors might not know the difference between good editing and good design, and they offered them a lower level of work for a lower price, and then they got their money on the back end. Right.
Interesting. Okay.
So for a number of years, because of that, self-publishing companies started to get a bad reputation. And all of a sudden, then we started to hear about hybrid publishing companies, which were essentially the same thing, just rebranded.
Ah,
And so you'll hear that hybrid publishers a lot. Now people are even dropping the term hybrid, and they're just calling themselves publishers. And authors are still being treated to the business model where they pay all the expenses, and the publisher still gets a cut of the back end revenue. So the alternative to that, and I've been around since 2001, is an author services company where we charge you to produce the book. We provide all the services and the knowledge and the project management to make it an enjoyable process for an author. But then we don't take a cent of the revenue when the book is sold. We get you set up with print on demand accounts in your own name so that you get the sales reports, you get all of the revenue from book sales, and you always know and control everything that's going on about your publishing business.
interesting. All right. I appreciate that breakdown because there's a lot of gray area in there still too. I recently spoke with an author who has a publisher. Okay, and that's how they describe it. It's an actual publisher. They
Mhm.
call themselves a publisher, and yet the author is still responsible for the advertising of
Yes.
the book. And so I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What? So I'm like, they're just printing the book then. You're basically just paying the publisher to print the book. I wasn't quite understanding that. Has that become the norm then for people to do all their own marketing and pay for all of it, even with a publisher?
Well, back in the 1970s, publishers used to actually market the book for the author as well, and then that slowly went away. And now, in today's traditional publishing world, authors are required to do some of the marketing for their book, and participate in it either with their presence at book signings or sometimes financially. And so that's the reason why independent publishing, self-publishing has grown to the extent it has, because what is the publisher providing for you? In return. If now traditional publishing is still the gold standard, right? Because the author doesn't pay for the editing, the design, and ebook formatting, and all the rest, and also doesn't have to get involved in the complexities of that. So there's room for each model. My goal is to make sure that authors understand the difference between the three ways of going about it so that they can make an informed decision.
Sure. Well, and then the hybrid model becomes confusing too because uh, I've dealt with three or four different quote hybrid publishers, and they call themselves that, and they all offer different services as opposed to what they offer versus what you pay for versus what they can do,
Right.
and so on and so forth. So it really has kind of just become an a la carte business anyway, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, but the key point is that you don't need to work with a third party who takes the
Right.
money out of your pocket when a book is sold. Now, just to put some numbers on that, let's say the retail price of your book is about $20. Now, the retailer gets a cut always. At Amazon, it's 40% of the cover price. So that would be, say, $8 deducted from that $20 sales price. Then you have to pay for the printing. Print on demand printing is great because you don't pay for the printing until the book is actually sold. You no longer have to order a truckload of books and keep them in your garage.
Hmm.
Right. So print on demand is great in that respect. So the printing might be about $4. And so then the net to the author from every book sale should be $8. Let's call it $6 to $8 just to put in some wiggle room there. When people work with hybrid publishers, self-publishing companies, and all of these middlemen, they might get as little as 90 cents when a book is sold, sometimes $1 or $2, maybe $3, but they're leaving a lot of money on the table when they work with these, in my opinion, unnecessary middlemen.
Right. And then the more work they do to market the book and put it out there, then the more they end up paying, it sounds like, because
Yeah,
they're
well,
losing a piece of every book.
oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, you're paying if you're paying for the editing and the design and the production and the ebook formatting and the marketing, and the publisher is still getting $2 or $3, $4 out of your pocket every time you sell a book. Who's sometimes the publisher is making more money from that book sale than the author, even though the author paid all the expenses.
Right. Personally, I'm very much in favor of your model. And that's part of what I'm sort of drawing a conclusion towards, because I am a big one to say, what am I getting for my money?
Right.
That's really the
Right.
only thing I ever wanted an answer to. And you can answer that question for somebody. And I only have to pay you once for the services that you're doing because then they're done. Am I getting that right?
That's correct. You,
Yeah.
excuse me. You pay us once, not forever.
Right. And if I'm gonna, like I said, if I have to go out and market it and do everything on my own anyway, and sometimes that involves buying ads, and things of that nature, which is, more outlay, then the better I do, the more I'm paying
Mhm.
to all these other folks,
Well,
but not with you.
you have to market the book, right? Because
Right.
nobody can buy a product that they've never heard of,
Yeah.
right? But I still think the author is the best person to market a book,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because it gets pretty expensive to hire a marketing firm.
Mm.
You might be able to, afford maybe a 6 month launch or a 6 month marketing push or something like that. But if you can learn to market the book yourself, it only costs your time.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you're doing. I also, um, you learned a lot of skills, obviously in your education and then in your job working with publishing. So it sounds like you've then branched out and taken a piece of what you learned and kind of worked within certain niches, since then, is with the typesetting and now with this. Am I on with that?
Yeah, my training is as a designer, right?
Yeah.
So the typesetting was kind of a detour,
Good for
right?
you.
But that was kind of a funny story too, because at the time I used to buy typesetting for the jobs I would do for my clients, and I learned that I asked her one day, I said, well, "What do you charge for typesetting?" And she said $50 an hour. And at the time, that was like a huge amount of money. And I was making $10 an hour as a freelancer. So I ran home to my husband. I said, we have to learn more about this.
I
And so
love that attitude.
and so like young people, only young people can do, we went out and we leased a $35,000 typesetting machine, and that was the beginning of the typesetting business.
Oh, look at that. All right. So you were all in on that
Yeah,
typesetting business.
yeah, yeah.
I really appreciate the entrepreneurial mindset that you have had, throughout your career. And that's why I'm bringing attention to it right now, because here you are again, where you're the founder of 1106 Design. And I think that working with someone who has an entrepreneurial mindset is a huge asset to someone who is trying to self-publish, because it seems like you would get it a little bit better.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love being in business. It's the best decision I ever made, and I think being in as an author, being in their own business, that's a great thing too, as long as they don't give up most of their profits to someone that they shouldn't.
Right. And I encourage authors to look at if they're going to write a book and they're going to market the book, that's their business. And that's
Yes.
a business of theirs. And if
Yes.
you're going to do that, then you have to look at things like the bottom line. You can't just throw it out there for free and hope. So, with someone on the other end like you who gets that, I would think they'd have a little bit of guidance.
Oh yeah, we answer something like 200 or 300 messages in the course of every project. So we're not just providing tasks. I mean, authors can go out there and hire freelancers to do one task or another, but they're unlikely to get the publishing advice that we give along the
Hmm.
way. The coaching, you could call it coaching, I guess that's the new word. But we just answer questions and offer advice and share everything that we know along the way to help them out.
Nice. Again, I love what you're doing. Would you mind sort of doing a little role playing here? If I'm an author and I want to self-publish and I've got my book and I call you up and I go, "Hey, Michelle, I'm ready to go. Can you walk me through what that process would look like and what my options might be?" I mean, you don't have to talk about cost or anything like that, obviously, but just give me an idea of what sort of services we might be talking about.
Sure. In most cases, we tell the author that all we need to begin is your completed manuscript. And that word completed is really, really important, right? Because it's hard to stop writing. We know that much from the experience with our writers, but do not start production until you are finished writing your book. That's the best and first advice I give to everyone. Because if you're not settled, you don't feel that the manuscript is the best you know how to make it, it's too early to turn it over to anyone else for that final polish.
Okay.
So we start with your final manuscript, and the first step is usually cover design, is usually copy editing.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we'll start with an evaluation so that we determine which level of editing is needed. 95% of the time it's copy editing. About 5% of the time it might need some structural work, especially for fiction, so and that's more expensive. But copy editing is it for most people. And while the copy editing is going on, we will start the cover design to save some time.
Got it. Okay.
So a lot of people worry about the editing stage. They're worried that the editor is going to change their words or change their voice or their style. You don't
Always, right?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. An editor will just polish up the text, notice the things that you didn't, because none of us noticed um, the faults in our own writing.
Sure.
You can't because you know what you meant to say. So, but that doesn't mean it came across clearly to the person who's reading it.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
so editors are absolutely necessary. And I like to reassure authors that they're going to see every change that the editor made. We use track changes so that they can accept or reject any suggestion. So there's nothing to worry about.
Interesting. Okay, great. So they're still in
Yeah.
control.
Oh,
Still in
always,
control of the book. All right.
always.
And that was the first question that I had was about the editing. As soon as you said your final completed manuscript, I went, okay, now define completed. Before the editor gets hold of it and, makes me want to cry or after. So you're talking about everything you personally as the author can do with and to the book without the editor being involved. That's the
Yeah.
completed piece that you need from me.
Yes, you should self-edit to your heart's content until you
Sure.
really, and there's nothing wrong with using Grammarly, right, to help out with weaknesses there. But you should definitely be satisfied with it and be able to say to yourself, I can't look at this one more time.
Right.
And then you're ready to turn it over to a professional editor.
Got it. Okay. And so then we come to you. We go through the editing. The editor starts to work. We know what gets edited. We have control over it still. That's beautiful. That process is completed. You've already sent me off to cover art. So how does the cover art part work in terms of the input that you get versus how much do you actually have to come up with on your own? Because I know that with with my covers, I mean, heck, with my podcast covers, very often I've just told an artist, give me something close to this. I can't even tell you. I
No,
close
that's
my
great.
eyes and wait
We
and see what I got.
we love that. We send questionnaires at the beginning of the job to gather the information we need to get started. And on the cover questionnaire, we'll ask authors, what are the most what are the best-selling competitors to your book? If you know that, yeah, or you should try to find that out anyway. Maybe you should have tried to find that out before you began writing.
Before you wrote
Right.
it.
Um, but what we want to do is, and we do some research too, but what we want to do is make sure that your cover looks compatible with the contemporary bestsellers that are similar. And the reason for that is that Amazon is, even when people type in your title to go find your book, Amazon isn't just going to show them your book. They're going to put up the bestsellers that are similar. So sometimes this is where the process gets off track, right? Because authors will start to focus on what they personally like in terms of cover design. But I tell them the cover is the inside of the book is all about you. The cover has to be all about your buyer. What does your buyer expect to see when they're looking for this kind of book? Cookbooks look different than history books, which look different than memoirs, which would look different than college prep books.
Right.
Every book has its own look and feel to it, every kind of book. And so you want to make sure the design fits in with those conventions, first of all. And it also needs to be carefully crafted on the level that a major publisher would do for credibility. Because if people are going to make a subliminal decision in about 2 seconds, if your cover looks self-published with bad typography and questionable images, they're going to go buy the best-selling book instead.
Right.
But
Right.
if your cover is designed at the traditional publisher level, carefully crafted in every way, then they might say, gee, I never heard of Rory, but that looks like a good book. And the description is compelling. I think I'm going to give it a try. And you have a good chance to sell your book that way.
Nice. Do you find that people really underestimate what goes into the cover of the book?
Oh, unbelievably so. Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite story is the woman who called me up one time and wanted to know what we charged for a cover. And she was horrified at the price. And she said, oh, you can't fool me. I know you spend 15 minutes on a cover. All you do is find a picture and plop a title on top. And I said, no, ma'am. There's much more to the process than that, I assure you. So that
Yeah. It
was kind
sounds
of
like
a
she
short, kind
spent
of
a little
quick.
too much time on Fiverr, is what it sounds
Yeah,
like. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, a good trained book designer is going to spend a lot of time on research first, get your input and combine those two thoughts
Yeah.
and come up with a cover that looks like it was made by a traditional publisher.
I love that. I've seen that so often where, I'll look at a cover and, I'll be talking to somebody about their book and the cover, it's got to tell a story.
Yeah.
But the story isn't just the story of the book. And it's like you just said, the story is who's the author? How much did they spend on this book? Right? Are they a professional or not? There's all sorts of pieces to the story that your cover's telling.
Oh
And
yeah.
and people need to kind of understand that.
Well, we've all seen terrible self-published book covers, right? And it's they're not creative, they're poorly executed, and you can tell immediately that it's a self-published book. You never want that to be the case when people are looking at your book
Oh
and
yeah.
considering buying it, because everyone's seen terrible self-published books. You don't want to be in that group. You want to be in the group of covers that looks like, hey, this author knows what they're talking about.
Right.
This looks like a quote unquote good book.
Yeah, we've all seen them, and some of us actually have them. And yeah, my first cover was just abysmal. So I
That's the
understand.
thing. I feel sorry for authors because the narrative out there is you should just go find somebody on Fiverr.
Mhm.
But if you look at the websites from those people, all of their covers look the same.
Yeah,
And the reason they're low price is because they're giving the same cover to 1,000 different authors.
exactly right. That's exactly it.
They're
All right.
spending 15 minutes on the job.
Well, yeah, because they only get paid this much for this much work.
Yeah,
So the quicker they
yeah,
can get it off their table, the better off they do.
yeah.
But no, I get it. All right. So we've arrived at it. We've gone back and forth a little bit. The cover is done. I have the awesome cover that's going to position me next to the best-selling, big publisher house book. It's going to keep me in the game, and it also says, "Hey, I'm serious." Gives me a little bit of credibility. What's next?
Well, while now that you have this front cover, now you can actually begin your marketing effort. You could actually start blogging about the process of the cover design if you wanted to, but once you have a final cover, that's when you start saying, "Hey, my book will be out soon in several months," and start to get people interested in the book by displaying that cover. So
Nice.
the next step after the editing is done, then we launch into the interior page work for the book. And our first step is to show you interior design samples. Uh, you'll hear the word formatting a lot in the industry right now. What book designers do is not formatting, it's typesetting. Completely, completely different process, very meticulous. We worry about things that you would never imagine when we're typesetting the text of your book. Tons and tons of rules to follow, but all for the purpose of reading comprehension. It's been clinically proven that well typeset text leads to better reading comprehension. And of course, I would think authors would want that, right? You don't want to distract your reader with poor spacing, poor typesetting, all kinds of distracting elements that can creep in if someone who doesn't know what they're doing has done that job for you.
That's really interesting. That never even occurred to me.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so much that goes into all of our writing, right, as authors, that's behind the scenes that we wish everybody knew. But there's so much that goes into something that appears as simple as putting the words on the page. So the space between the lines, the type of type it is, how it's laid out, that leads to comprehension through how the eye hits it.
Yeah, and it's also, again, just like the cover, it's that first impression when you open the book. What do the chapter openers look like? Is it well designed? Does it look like someone took care with it? That's all leaving an impression about you, the author, before people read a single word of what you wrote.
Interesting. I love that. Okay. So you're going to work on the typesetting of the book. You're going to make it visually appealing, and you're going to do everything you can to help my readers stay engaged
Yes.
with
Yes.
the words that I wrote, which is great. Where do we go from there?
Then after the interior is done, then we send it to our proofreader who reads every word. Now, no editor is going to find everything. No author will find every mistake. No editor will find every mistake either because they're working at a higher level. They're working with the grammar and syntax and all of that. The proofreader is the last quality control step in the process. The proofreader is going to find all the errors that everybody missed along the way to make sure that the text is perfect or as perfect as any human can make it. And that's the final step. Then we get your files ready to upload to your print on demand accounts so that you keep control of everything from that point on. And we make the ebook at that point too.
Nice. Okay. So you're putting the ebook together, and all right, we got that. And then whether or not it turns into a paperback or a hardcover or anything else, that's up to us and how we set up our um, print on demand accounts.
Yeah, what we ask you to do is set up your own print on demand accounts, but we will set up your title, right? By the time we get to that stage, we will have had discussions with you about whether you should do a hardcover or a soft cover and at which print on demand printer you should use. We typically advise authors to use KDP and Ingram Spark together
Hmm.
for the widest distribution at the lowest cost.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I imagine Amazon frowns on that just a little bit.
I'm sorry?
I imagine Amazon frowns on that. Don't they want everybody just to be KDP?
Well, it's kind of funny. There's two categories of distribution. There's regular distribution and there's expanded distribution. Amazon, if you upload only to Amazon, they will feed all the Amazon channels worldwide. They offer expanded distribution, supposedly, to Barnes and Noble and all these other places, other outlets, bookstores and such, but no bookstore is ever going to buy from Amazon. So you're ordering something that you're never going to get.
Right. Okay.
And and
Another good
and
point.
And the funny thing is, they run their expanded distribution through Ingram Spark at a markup.
Okay.
So we say use kdp.com to distribute to Amazon, then use Ingram Spark to distribute to everyone else. And that has to be done in a specific order so the two companies don't get into a virtual fist fight about your distribution.
Nice. All
Yeah.
right. So, I mean, your expertise is coming into play at all parts of this journey so far.
Yep.
which is great. Okay.
We've learned a lot.
Yeah, I've learned a ton just in the short time I've been talking to you. So, at that point, is our relationship done?
It can be. At that point, we collect the balance due for your job,
Sure.
and then we. I hear from people all the time, long after the services are over. They come back to us with questions and concerns and revisions and all kinds of things. So we're never done until you think we're done.
Got it. Got it. Now, you and I talked a little bit in our pre-interview about certain things like red flags for authors to look out for, and I thought that was incredibly valuable too, because very often we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what to look for.
Yeah, when you're looking for information online, it's really difficult. Again, I feel sorry for authors. There's so much information, so many people, and some of the sales tactics you will encounter are high pressure sales tactics. You may have experienced that yourself. So there are basically four red flags that you should watch out for when you're examining companies and what they offer. The first one is a free ISBN. Now, what's an ISBN? It's basically the model number for your book. It stands for International Standard Book Number, and that's how the book industry tracks inventory and sales. So your book, every format of your book needs its own ISBN. We recommend and can help you buy them directly through the ISBN agency in the United States, which is Bowker, and we can get you a 15% discount on that. But the ISBN should always be purchased in your own name, never the name of a publishing company. So
Hmm.
when a company tells you they're going to give you free ISBNs, it means they're giving you one of their ISBNs, and they will be registered as the publisher of your book.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
that's your first red flag. The second
Oh,
red flag is if they pay you a royalty. Okay. When you control your own print on demand accounts, this gets a little complicated because KDP uses the word royalty,
right.
but they don't take part of your revenue from sales. They just call it a royalty. But Ingram Spark pays you what they call publisher compensation, the full amount after the retailer and the printer get paid. That's your publisher compensation. So companies other than KDP, companies that promise to pay you a royalty, it means they are going to set up the book on their Ingram Spark account. They're going to get paid when the book is sold. They're going to get the sales reports, and then they're going to pay you less than what they get and call it a royalty.
Oh, wow. All
So
right. So just the vernacular here alone is kind of making me go, okay, got it, got it, got it.
yeah, there's not enough transparency in the industry about that. A lot of authors don't know how the money
Yeah.
works in publishing. The third red flag to look out for, please, is anybody who promises to make your book a bestseller. Scams are everywhere in every industry, right? We all know it. But the way that happens now, the bestseller scam, means that they're going to put your book up in a very obscure category that doesn't get a lot of sales. And they're going to get together with you, and so that 100 or 200 people buy your book in a 45-minute period. And that convinces Amazon's computer to put a bestseller badge on your book. And
Wow.
from that point on, authors are saying, I'm a best-selling author. Well, no, you're not. Can we please be honest? Yeah,
That's interesting. I wondered about that because I
yeah,
see that all the time where
yeah,
people are like, oh, bestseller.
yeah.
And sometimes they'll put, in category or something, but still they're always saying bestseller this, bestseller that. And I'm like, how can that possibly be? Because I've seen the New York Times list. You're not on
Yeah,
it.
and
Right?
that's done. That's put out every week, and it's compiled by the Nielsen agency, and it's a survey of bookstores of actual book sales
Hmm.
in the last week. So even that can be scammed in a way,
Wow.
depending on the author's budget.
Okay. All right. So, did we get all four red flags?
Uh, the the
There's one more.
last yeah, the last one, it's you'll hear publishers say they're going to distribute your book to bookstores nationwide. Okay. Bookstores buy from Ingram, and so they're going to put your book on their Ingram account, and it's going to show up in Ingram's computer. But that does not mean it's going to be on the shelf in bookstores nationwide. So they play with language, they dance around terms in order to make it sound like they're doing something wonderful for you, but it doesn't mean anything.
Wow. Do you mind recapping those four just so I make sure I have them and so everybody can hear it? I mean, just name them up one more time so everybody gets these loud and clear.
Sure. Free ISBNs, payments and royalties, promises of a bestseller, and distribution nationwide or worldwide.
Okay. Wow. All stuff that we've heard a million times from folks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Wonderful. I mean, this has been incredibly educational so far. So I appreciate you
Good.
sharing all this info. Um, what makes you, I mean, you sound like you're an advocate for authors in a lot of ways. And the way
Yes.
that you kind of broke away from the big boys and you've been doing your own thing, you sound like you're a little bit of a maverick out there.
I guess so.
Where's all this come from?
Well, I mean, when I started in publishing and still traditional publishers are all about producing a quality book, and it takes an army of experts to do that. And bookmaking is an art, right? Just like any other craft that you can get involved with. But over the years, the self-publishing is the greatest opportunity that authors have ever encountered, right? I think it's going to go down in history as important as Gutenberg's movable type, right?
Mm,
All of a sudden, information could be disseminated without barriers, right? Great opportunity. But with that opportunity came people who lowered the quality of books in order to make money. And I just had had enough of that. And now that I'm of a certain age, it's like I'm going to get out there and talk about it. It's not right the way authors are being misled.
nice. So you are an advocate for authors.
Yeah, yeah,
All
I
right. I was picking that up right. Okay.
am.
I'm dying to hear your stance and your opinion on Chat GPT and what that has done to our business as well.
I think we're on the bleeding edge of this and nobody knows what's going to happen next. It's changed a lot of things. The thing I love about it is that it's taken down the barriers to knowledge, right? That, right? But it's kind of changed the way people search for information. There's kind of a new before you would have to use Google and maybe dig around for quite some time and find the answer you were looking for on someone's website. Well, now you're getting that answer right away, right at the top of the search results. And so website searches have fallen off. And now business owners like me have a new task. We have they
All right, we lost you for just a minute, but hey, this happens when you're doing this stuff, and we don't edit because we want authenticity. So, Michelle, you and I were just talking about how the effect of Chat GPT on our business and what we do here, and also you had mentioned that partly because of what people do with getting the information that way, that website searches had gone down, and that had impacted you in some way. You want to pick up from there?
Yes, every business is now has to think about how we are going to be listed as a trusted source by Chat GPT and all these other generative engines, because now people are not digging for your website anymore. Now they're getting the answer right at the top of the search results page from Chat GPT, and it's getting its answers, and it looks for information to be chunked in a specific way. So we're actually currently at the moment changing our website to take full advantage of that because ChatGPT and other engines list the source of the information they're providing. And so you want your website to show up as that source
Right. Okay. So you're leaning into ChatGPT and how it operates so that you can take advantage of it and stay at the front end of this.
of necessity. Yeah, because people aren't digging for websites anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. I ran across a program. Maybe you've seen this, where they were selling it was a software that utilized ChatGPT to literally just write books. and just churn out books on a topic. And then you slap your name on it and you just mark it. And I've seen a lot of that. And as I've been looking around on sites, I'm like, okay, that's a Chat GPT book. That's a Chat GPT book. Are you noticing that? Are you running into that? What do you think of that trend and what's it doing to us?
Oh, I think it's a really poor trend. People recognize quality no matter what they're looking at, whether you're looking at a man's suit or a book or a design.
All right, Michelle, I'm sorry we lost you again, but we got you back. We're going to finish this. You and I, we are pushing through this thing. All right. And we had just talked about how people recognize quality. And you said, in a men's suit or whatever it is, people recognize quality.
Yeah, so this new trend of having AI write your book, I think it's unfortunate because, well, first of all, AI doesn't have a soul. It doesn't have emotions. It can maybe string sentences together and facts together, but it's not alive. It's not human creativity. So I hope it never replaces human authors or human anything.
Yeah.
Right? You're hearing about it everywhere, AI generated music, AI generated audiobook narration. Um, we'll have to see what happens. Oh, we're lost again.
All right. No, I think we're still here. We're powering through just a little bit. All right. So we're just about at the end here, and I appreciate everything that you have just shared. It's been absolutely amazing today. I've learned so much. I can't even quantify it. Let me real quickly, while I still have you here, before our internet decides we're done for us. Maybe Chat GPT is trying to shut us down because they don't like the conversation we're having. It could be. But you are offering out a free download of your book, Publish Like the Pros. Tell us about that real quick.
That's correct. I wrote a little 88-page book with it summarizes much of what I've said here, and it's a step-by-step process of what authors need to know about to self-publish a book. And I give it away for free on my website in return for your email address. You can download a PDF of it for free. It's a quick read, and I hope you read it because I want every author, whether they work with us or not, to to make an informed decision. And you can find at 1106design.com.
1106design.com. All right. Is that where you want everybody to go is to the website?
That's where you'll find out about us. Yes.
Sounds good. All right, wonderful. All right, Michelle. Like I said, I think Chat GPT is trying to shut us down right now. So apparently Skynet's coming in, and they want us to stop talking about them. But listen, you've been absolutely amazing, and I support what you're doing, and I think that people should check out your services 100%. So you have my endorsement by and far. I love what you're doing. Thank you for coming on and telling everybody about it and for all the education because we just don't get this enough. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
All right. Folks, that's been another just fantastic episode of the Right Path podcast. This is the place where the truth still counts and words still have power. This is the place where authors know that every page is a step forward. So let's lift each other up, let's dust each other off, and let's all move forward together.